regular board meeting of Friday, 25th, 2019, for the Board of Park Commissioners of the Lake Bluff Park District, Lake County, Illinois. Can we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Earhart? Here. Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner McHenry?
Here.
I have some prior notice.
Commissioner Mossberger?
Here.
Commissioner Patera? Here. Commissioner Wallace?
Here. He should be arriving about 7:15. Should be out of here. He said we need to go faster when Brock is,
I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
So, second.
You can change this up, see what's going on.
We need a roll call.
Yes, roll call, please.
Commissioner Earhart?
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger?
Yes.
Commissioner Patera?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
At this point, statement of visitors that anyone can have an opportunity to address the board. That's with something that's not on the agenda. Do we have anybody that would like to do that tonight? Okay. Okay. Moving on. Public hearing. So for this particular section, I needed to announce, acting as the president tonight, announce the public hearing open to receive public comments on the proposed budget and appropriations ordinance, and explain that all persons desiring to be heard will have the opportunity to present written or oral testimony at this time. From what I understand, that nothing's been written and presented. It's left at that. Is that right, Ron?
That is correct. Unless you have any comments from the commissioners.
And now, need to ask for additional comments from the rest of the Park District Board.
I just have to better understand it. Is this when we ask for, just like this ordinance here?
Mhm.
Talking about just kind of a high level, let's understand, we do this annually?
We're required by law to do it annually.
And what was the comment on the 20%?
So, if you want to speak to it, or I can.
Oh, yeah, for appropriations, that's your authorized spending. So what happens is typically, local units of government will take their budget, add 20%, give them some room for error, and that's typically how it's done, just so you don't go over your legal, limit of spending.
So is it, but it's also revenues, so we adjusted revenues up by 20%?
Correct.
And that's regular practice?
That's regular
Yes.
practice. Yeah.
I haven't heard of it.
It's always done this time of year?
Yes, some actually do it around the budget process, so.
Correct.
So it's not-
This is, we're about 1 month earlier than we normally done it, so.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the time was really good for us this year to.
Yeah, a little bit easier.
Yeah.
It's different because we're on appropriations type of budget, and that's not due until 60 days after the close of fiscal year.
Rob, can I just make a comment?
Sure.
Front to your initial question, Rob answered it correctly. I believe that you also would want to know that the budget's still the authority to spend as far as what's going, but the Park District is going to spend. What Rob said is in case you have something unforeseen that takes over what's in the budget, then you don't have to redo things and have another public hearing, whatnot. So that budget document is still in the budget.
So it, but it could happen that we had, revenues that are 20% lower and expenses that are 20% higher, and that just means that we're operating within
The legal limit.
the
Yeah,
limit.
it's more of a legal term, that's what we're doing, than an actual budget.
It gets filed with the county. Good question.
Number 3, there was no written testimony. As for oral testimony, the president announces that all desiring to be heard have been given the opportunity, which we saw. At this time, I need a motion to be made by a board member and seconded that the hearing be adjourned after discussion, if any. And then we'll call for a roll call. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Earhart?
Yes.
Vice President Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes?
Commissioner Wallace.
Yes. Okay, verbal communications.
So I'll go down really quickly. I do have an orientation with the 3 new board members coming on in May. So starting tomorrow night, from 6 until 8 o'clock at night. So I have a budget binder for them, and we're just gonna go through and protocols, and you remember that budget binder, so yes, sorry, we still have it. It's my one moment in time that I get a budget binder. But I'll have subsequent conversations with them, because as you know, there's a lot that goes on, and there's still questions that, it's new. I would ask for those, whether they're leaving or those who are new, if you can reach out to them. If you feel comfortable, grab coffee with them. Now, if something doesn't make sense, I'll be accessible to them, but sometimes it's great for them to hear from you as well. So we're gonna try to do some speed learning here as best we can. I do want to ask the board if you're still able to make a joint workshop. It was basically a meet and greet with the foundation next Monday. We've been talking about this. It's going to be in here. It's very loose and casual. So we have some new people on the foundation board. Talk about a few capital, what we're looking at, what's going on, and that was really about it. I think they said they wanted to hear from the board, or at least get to know some of you. If you don't think, if you'd rather wait until another time, please let me know so I can tell them. If you feel it's back meetings, it's a more of a meet and greet with them.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Being on that board for, I think, over 4 years, they really want hardcore, you guys, our involvement. So if you are able to attend next Monday, it's just important for them to have our support, our ear, and,
Appreciate that coming from
they
you.
really will,
Yeah.
put on it.
Do we have an agenda? Are we preparing anything? I just would rather be prepared than just shake hands. Are we?
They did want to talk about the beach project, so to see if there's interest for them to fundraise, not the coastal engineering study, the breakwaters, but more on the grant. So they want to be able to do some brick pavers and put names on it, so they need to get going on that sooner than later to see if the board's open to that, but you're still learning what the concept is. So I showed them the concept, you have the concept in your packet. The Parks and Beach Committee is still meeting on it. So that was probably that's probably the biggest thing on their mind right now, is they would love to be able to fundraise for that project.
So it's their monthly meeting and we're visitors?
No, it's a joint meeting, so we would publish it both. We wouldn't put it on camera, and it would just say meet and greets. There's some new members that you haven't met before. So, yeah, there isn't a exact agenda. The only other thought I had is if we push it to another time, maybe it's when the clubhouse is open and we can all sit in the clubhouse.
Or when the new board,
When the new board.
The
When the
new
new
board
board
gets
members
there.
as well. So that's why I originally,
Yeah, that probably makes the
Yeah.
most sense.
that
Yeah.
does make
Sorry
sense.
about that.
That's right. Well, I was just gonna ask if you want to invite the new board next week if we do it.
Right.
Well, either way, yeah.
What'd you just say? I'm sorry, Bob.
The 3 new board members, if we do it next week, ought to be invited. That's
Absolutely.
part of this meeting, the foundation.
I just thought first, see if some of you can make it, but then I would send out an email.
I've got it on the calendar.
Me too.
so-
Okay, so
But as long
it
as,
could be-
I agree with Ron, as long as there's a purpose beyond just shaking hands. I mean, I'd love to hear what their plans are for 2019.
Okay.
Are any association people gonna be there?
I think they would like to hear what our plans
Well,
are
we need-
for
right,
2019.
well, we need them.
Yeah.
Are any
Right.
association people?
Yes, most of them are going to be there, are available.
Okay. Because I know they want to continue fundraising, so I don't know how those two groups are gonna work together.
Oh.
You mean the golf
Oh, the golf association, I'm sorry. I thought you meant
What association did you?
I was thinking the foundation trustees.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was thinking, the golf association, because they pledged to continue raising
Yes.
money next year.
Yes, that is correct. They're working with golf.
15 grand or 25 grand or? whatever the number was, at a minimum.
That'll be another. Well.
So let me work out the details tomorrow, and I'll talk with John Hirsch on that, and make sure I talk to Rob Douglas to make sure it's productive, but.
I have it on the calendar.
Okay. All right, so let's keep it, and I'll invite the 3 new board members, make sure they are aware of it, and any of the golf associations.
Okay.
All right. Shining Stars, we'll be talking about something later, but this is always good. They always look for commissioners. Brock has gone before. I know the full board has gone. It's a nice event, Bob. I think you've been on that. It's through our NSSRA, which are a Special Recreation Association. They get 350 people there, and it's pretty amazing to see them recognize some of their participants, if you can participate in this. So.
Do we know how many kids from our district participate in NSS?
Yeah, so Craig Culp was planning to come out, the executive director, and we'll be talking about some other things in executive session, and he was gonna come out March and April, and he has reports for us.
Okay.
Other than that, Rob's situation, Rob found a full-time job, and then we have Bob Novak, so, they met briefly here today, and they'll be able to go through all the files and things like that, so hopefully, it should be a smooth transition. Bob came in for 2 hours today and go through some things, so he starts up next Tuesday. So for Treasurer Tara, we're gonna wanna jump in right away with you, maybe next week, to see if you can come in and we can talk to you about financial reports and how we want those done. So, that's my report.
In recreation, we had 2 events that happened over the weekend. First, we had our daddy-daughter dance, which was really successful. We had more couples than we've ever had, dads and daughters. We had over 130, which was fantastic. Ron, I want to thank Executive Director. His daughter Addison was volunteered her services as a princess for the day. It was hard for us this year to find one, and she stepped up and said that she would want to do that, and did an outstanding job. I'll let Katie can talk about the health and wellness event that was at Lake Forest train station yesterday.
Okay, the fitness center was asked to participate in a winter wellness pop-up, which is kind of an event that they had at the West Lake Forest train station, and they included several different health and wellness type companies and vendors. They're similar to what we had held up in the fitness center when we had our Go Fitness event. This was a little larger scale, and so they had the Park District, the fitness center was represented, they had Lake Forest, Health and Fitness, they had Daily Method, they had other fitness related people there, they had an essential oils person representative, they had a micronutrient person who was growing these little plants, and it was an opportunity for the community to get out there and see what else is out there. So at our table we had the flyers from our Nordic Ski Club, and we had the pickleball flyers, and we had our Go Walk Club. So we're trying to increase the awareness of what Lake Bluff offers to people who might not necessarily think of us because we were in the West Lake Forest train station. So it was a really good opportunity for the Park District and Fitness Center to kind of see people. Ron was there, Jim was there, and there was quite a crowd there. I was kind of, to be honest with you, a little surprised at the attendance, given the blustery weather that we had yesterday. So that was a good opportunity to kind of meet some people, and they picked up our new catalog. Some people picked up our new spring catalog that Jeff was published. So we had people asking about the children's youth programs and different kind of summer camps. So I think it was a really good opportunity for us to see people to see what we had to offer. And then upcoming in June, I think we were planning on a color run along with that Go Lake Bluff thing that we had. We were planning a color run that would be along the bike path in Lake Bluff, and to try to encourage participation, from kids to adults. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the color run, but you kind of run or walk. We're gonna do a 5K run. Nothing's timed, it's a fun run, and then a 3K walk. And, you know, you wear a white t-shirt and they don't, you know, there's colored chalk on you and, you know, it's supposed to be a lot of fun. Very festive and so we're planning on having some food vendors there, just kind of as an activity sometime at the end of the 22nd. So we're gonna be working on it.
Katie is, if you don't know, Katie's been our interim fitness manager. She's stepped up to the plate just to help out with the fitness center when Tim left. So I do want to thank Katie for, she's the one who's really spearheaded this whole June 22nd color run and really stepped up to the plate to do all these other events. So I do want to thank her for doing that. She's
Thank
been
you.
a big help. Lastly, you have in front of you, we were accredited park district with our risk management agency, and so with that, when you receive the accreditation, all commissioners along with full-time staff receive a jacket. So.
Wonderful, okay, nice.
Did not come out of our budget.
No, that's.
I wanted to add that in there.
Oh, yeah, so these jackets, no, when you become an accredited agency,
Yes, it does.
this is on the Perderma agency. On top of that,
Direct.
yeah, we also receive, I think it was $1,500 for becoming accreditation. So we actually got a rebate back to us,
That sounds even better.
you know, as a safety agency, so,
There we go.
anyhow.
That's a big one.
For the meeting next month.
I already spent the $1,500 on the jacket. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's great news, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, during the polar vortex, we had a small pipe burst up at the golf maintenance facility. It ran for a little bit, caused a smidgen of damage, but was quickly capped off and put back right. So staff did most repairs to the walls internally. We did it ourselves, just called in a plumber for a quick pipe repair. No other damage was found, so we're good. We're lucky there. We've started implementation of our new work order software system, so we're moving out of the paper post-it note in your mailbox, please get this done system to an actual automated electronic system that we carry on our tablets and phones now, so that should help with our productivity. We'll be able to track things better as far as what time and materials and manpower we're spending on certain projects, so we can give better information back to Ron and staff and the board as to what we're doing throughout the district and what time we're spending on certain projects. So we're still excited about rolling this out. We put a new lift in for our mechanic in our workshop, so he's excited about that. The safety aspect is huge as far as being able to work on equipment and not risk his life and limb and back. And we're excited because the pool pump system's getting a workover right now. Mike has got it torn apart into a million pieces, but once we get it back together again, the filter system will be up and running and ready for pool open. So it's just around the corner. It doesn't seem like it, even though it's end of February, but it'll be here sooner than later.
Does that conclude all the staff? Yeah. So now our committee reports, finance administration and future planning. Do you have anything that, Thomas,
Yeah, nothing other than what's already reported. We
Yeah.
spent a couple of hours with the staff, Ron and everyone, to better understand the list of capital projects, anything over $10,000 that was anticipated over the next 5 years. And so the team walked us through what we had as in terms of the list, the published list we were all familiar with. And I know that they did quite a bit of analysis, and they talked about the necessity of it, why it's important, what they see in terms of potential costs. And the discussion was very good. I think we had better understanding of the needs of the park district, and I think we've got a couple of other steps to take forward. And just when we come back, I think we'd like to better understand the priority in terms of, there are certain things that are must-dos, you know, they're kind of non-negotiables. A lot of them are. But some others may require board discussion with respect to whether we want to continue with the asset. And so it's not something that we can take lightly, that's things that we've had, but, you know, we probably should revisit some of these topics. And so I've asked Ron to make sure that, you know, we can identify, you know, projects that we may need to discuss as a board.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's a couple of the commentary in here was about a couple of the assets, I wasn't sure we were going to plan on possibly maintaining over during the 5 years.
Right.
The skate park was one of them.
Yes, and those require discussion.
Yeah.
Others are half-funded, potentially with a grant, so those need to be identified, you know, so that just
Yeah.
kind of better categorizing these types of expenses.
Sure.
And then those that have an asterisk, I think we're gonna have to have a discussion
Yeah.
and get consensus.
Yeah. Okay. Parks and Beach. Anything to be added to the portion?
Next Friday, yeah, we just put in there the concept, so I think we sent this out a few months ago, or it's been in their packet, Parks and Beach Committee packet, so they will be discussing the $350,000 on where they think it should be used. It's a recommendation, in terms of what the grant states, as well as what was in our master plan back in 2013, and develop a recommendation for the board, and there will be, I don't anticipate this group coming until the April meeting, so we may have a bunch of questions about the grant itself, as well as what they want to do. So we just put it in here so you have the idea where the costs are coming from and what's involved. Obviously, the costs are more than the grant, and the committee is saying, it's $350 and that's it. So, we're not looking to do more than what's in the grant, so.
And we can talk more after the meeting. I was just kind of curious, so when will we have a final report from the coastal engineer? Is that end of this year?
No, it definitely will be this year. I sent an email to him probably about a week and a half ago, because George was in kind of the liaison, George Russell, and he was out of town. So I told him I wanted to wrap this up by April, the plan. So I would hope to get a final report by April. That'd be my goal.
Okay.
That's my goal.
And then nothing new from North Shore Sanitary?
No, I met with them and the consultant, and so they now understand their needs, and so they're waiting for some documents, construction drawings from them regarding that underground basin. So, that's what they were going back and forth with, so, I told them I wanted a report by April. Or May.
I have two questions on this. One is, so this was not a capital request in the capital improvement plan. So when we reviewed last week, this was not part of it. Is there a reason why this is not included? Like, if this is a capital need, why is it not in the capital improvement plan?
Yeah, I don't know if it was in the, pro
Which
forma.
the passionate work? It was in that.
There was a.
Yeah, it was. It
There were
actually
two
was.
175
Yep.
placeholders in for it. It was split between 2 years.
Yep, it wasn't.
It was 175 and 175, that's the 350 grant.
Okay, so we've identified that we want to pave these pathways.
With the wildest steps?
That we want, well, I don't know.
That was part of the original master plan that was done in 2013.
Yeah.
There were different phases.
Right, and if we're saying that that's required, is there a I mean, I'm just not,
No, it's just
I
part of.
wasn't hearing the 13
Yeah.
and the C, I don't understand why we feel a need to pave these pathways.
So part of the master plan back in 2013, where we had a citizen group, I'm trying to think who was on that, but Rob Douglas was on that, where a group of citizens completed a master plan for the park board on the entire beach. What was identified back then was the entryways and the stairs, improvements to the entryways. And so it was identified back then. So when this grant came along, and we were asked about what improvements do we need on the beach, I went to the master plan to identify what accessibility, not necessarily ADA, but what accessibility, and that's where the entryways and the stairs came into play.
Okay. And what's the big complaint about the existing stairs and entryway? That's what's missing in this.
Yeah, so the biggest complaint has just been how bad the turf has been torn up.
Okay.
It's uneven surfaces walking down to the stairs, bikes, the gate. I think that's been the main thing, those have been the main things that were identified back in 2013. And it's been progressively worse in terms of walking up to the beach. I've had complaints from residents saying, when are you going to do something about the entryways? Because it looks so bad. The turf is in really bad shape.
Can you send, for those of us that weren't on the board in 13, can you send that master?
Sure,
plan?
absolutely.
I'm curious to
Okay.
see what else is.
So that's what we're talking about mostly here, right? Is paving the entrance before the stairs?
That is correct.
But then also the stairs, right?
And then the stairs
Rebuilding
itself.
stairs.
And then all the paths down, all the gravel paths down.
Not all the way down, so
Like
that's,
down to the road.
yeah,
To the road.
to the road from the top.
So we would pave the gravel.
Right now, it's just in a concept,
Yeah.
which is to do brick pavers for that.
Brick pavers on the top end?
On the top and then going down, so where the gravel path is, so
So
put that
all
in the
gravel
brick.
paths would be paved?
Except for the one going from the dog beach and up to the set of stairs, the last set of stairs, just because of money.
So is this where the foundation can come in with those pavers for those stairs that we don't have to spend money on, that they can raise?
You can, that's, so can they raise 20 grand, 30 grand, and then the board could add to that, add more paths or, because in the master plan is identified to have some type of gravel path along the tableland bluff, because it's just all muddy when people are walking up there, walking with their dogs and things like that. So it hasn't been identified where the money would go. It would go towards the actual project itself, and then you have additional funds. So it's how you split the hairs, I guess.
Thank you.
So more to come after
I'll send those out.
after your committee meeting.
Yeah, we thought it was good to put it in now so you understood some of it and we can talk about it, and then they can hear what you have to say.
More to follow. Stay tuned for April. And don't lose
Sounds
this.
good. I don't get another copy.
It's called
Fair enough.
Color Ink.
All right, it's expensive.
It is quite lovely, I will say. Facilities and programs, Chris, there were a couple of things I know that.
Yeah, we got together with Ron and Jim and Katie, and we talked an hour and a half. 90% of that time was spent on fitness. As Jim said, Katie is taking the lead up there now, and as you all may remember, a year ago, when Franz was still part of the committee, we took a step back and really analyzed who we wanted to be, what markets do we want to serve, do we want to be the high-cost, low-cost provider, just how are we going to market ourselves to the community, and put together a 3-year strategy. So in the meeting, staff provided an update on year 1 of that strategy, and I'm happy to say from a financial perspective, it's been a huge improvement. And I know you all see it in the numbers. You know, some of that was low-hanging fruit. Some of it was pricing increases that I think were overdue. Simplification in one respect in terms of the monthly charge, which was well received. membership is up, I think across the board, right, Katie, not just annual. So the first year's been great. For the budget for 2019, we approved an additional rate increase up to $42 a month. It's including yoga and some other things, but still an increase. I think we've done pretty much what we can do on the revenue side, you know, from the current membership base. Now we're really focused on marketing, bringing in, you know, maybe some local citizens to help us with a marketing plan going forward to expand that member base. We're looking, and you see it in the packet, and have seen it for the last few months, at some equipment upgrades, which is kind of phase 2 of what we had talked about a year ago. But the news is good on fitness. I think we're really going in the right direction. So thank you, Katie, for all your efforts up there. I know it's been challenging with Tim gone, but appreciate all your efforts. Paddle, we spent 10 minutes on. And quite honestly, paddle is about a year behind fitness. We really need to dive in and start figuring really all racket sports out. You'll see in financials, if not today, when you look at them, racket sports continues to lose significant dollars, both operationally and after debt and indirect expenses. And it is going in the wrong direction financially. And we need to figure that out. And really need to step back like we did with fitness and say, do we want to be in this business? If we do want to be in the business, how are we going to operate? Ron has reached out to the community and has put together a solid group of residents, 5 men and 4 women, who are going to get together for the first time next week to dive in and help us figure this out, much like we did with fitness. We had a community group that came together with a facilitator who's going to join us again. Brock and I are going to go to that first meeting and try and set the stage of what we're looking for them to accomplish. And hopefully in rather short order, we can come up with some ideas and focus and direction there. So more to come on racket sports. But that is definitely the focus right now for the next few months, getting that figured out.
Goals to get a report to the board by May.
Great. Ron, I'm not sure if anything's been tried to work, anything on Friends of Lake Bluff Parks? Oh, yeah. Comments from the commissioners? Yeah, I have one question. Just in reading some of the capital improvements and some things that are going to be up for discussion, what's the proposal on Blair Park as far as the tennis courts? I thought at one time we were going to implode those so they didn't get in time. Now I'm starting to see some potential of doing some, whether it's sealing of some cracks or resurfacing. And I sort of saw that as it relates to paddle and, not paddle, but pickleball and stuff. Is there a
So why don't I jump in from the
Okay.
committee level? I think that's one of the things that we need to be talking about. I mean, the board sees all the necessary capital, whether it's the heaters for the paddle courts, the entrance door, the carpeting, the resurfacing of tennis courts. It's a 6-figure number that's needed capital for racket sports. So before we spend any of that money, let's figure out what we want to be offering, how we want to offer it. Those courts are used by pickleballers. Right now, we don't charge anything for pickleball, right?
Clinics.
Outdoors.
Outdoors we do.
Right.
But I think
they have
pickleball-
tournaments and things like that in the summertime, they
Yeah.
do charge. We do charge a per head fee to play indoors, when we have open play, for example, like
Okay.
tonight there's open play, so it's a $5 head charge.
But capitalizing on pickleball is something that this group will be talking about.
Okay,
More
yeah.
and more players.
Makes
So,
sense, sure.
yeah, so before we spend money resurfacing a tennis court, it definitely will be part of a larger strategy for racket sports.
Do we even have this set up for tennis at all? Is it exclusively pickleball right now?
No, it
Or
is-
we do take it down, we have the regular nets up?
The nets are up there.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, the nets are permanently installed, so
Okay.
it is there, and the pickleball, one pickleball net, or court on one side of the net and another pickleball on the other side.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
we don't interfere with the, installed permanent nets there.
Are fitness center members, are they charged a fee too, or is that?
Fitness, yeah, it has, there's a flat rate for any pickleball.
For everybody, no matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if
if
you're a
it's member
resident,
or-
non-resident, a
Okay.
fitness center member, no, just a flat fee, which is pretty, comparable to what's charged at all the other facilities.
So you don't even have to be a member of the fitness club.
No,
No.
anybody.
No, we code
Or
it.
pickleball.
We have a certain code for it so that they can come in and whether it's a drill or whether it's just,
Yeah, for open
like-
place, just a flat fee, but then we do have offer drills, and those are, done registration through the park district.
The one thing we're talking about though, right now, it's not under racket sports. Right now, it's under
It's under
fitness.
fitness.
And so we need to have that discussion that it's a racket sport. So it needs to be in racket sports.
But I think that's a good point, as the team looks at the strategy, looking at the ongoing capital needs, whether it's the
Mhm.
courts or the heaters or the clubhouse, that's all in scope, just like we did for golf. You have to understand what the future capital needs are, so
Absolutely.
it's definitely part of it's gotta be part of the solution, so that, looking ahead, it still makes sense.
Right.
Great. Last thing, anything around there? Yeah, okay. Moving on. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of January 28th, 2019 for the regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera, Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, need a motion to accept the February 6th, 7th, 19th, and 25th, 2019 payables.
So,
Second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
yes.
Commissioner Patera, Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. Next, motion to approve the February 6th, 7th, 19th, and 25th of 2019 payables.
Sorry.
Roll call.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes?
Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. The 2018 year-end financial summary report. Discussion from page 44. Just gonna give us a-
Yeah, just give a brief report,
Okay.
what's going on, minutes to warm up here and get ready.
So these are the ones in there. Right?
So in front of you, you have a PowerPoint that we've been working on, so finish later this afternoon.
So these are the unaudited numbers so far. We're currently in the middle of our audit, but these shouldn't change substantially from here. So I just wanted to kind of go over the entity-wide results first, the fiscal year 18 budget. So the initial budget that was passed indicated a negative deficit of $32,000, which included all capital and debt. The projections that we were looking towards in September, October, we thought there would be a $290,000 included with all capital and debt all in. Budget amendment occurred in December. We decided to not change all the numbers, but some substantial numbers. I've noticed as bills were coming in after year-end close, I informed Executive Director Selski here that we were looking at maybe a $363,000 loss as opposed to $290, and I'll get into the reasons why. And we do have a plan to offset those losses. The board did challenge us then, whatever we lost in fiscal year 18, to then make up in fiscal year 19. We've identified a plan already, and we're going to execute that plan. The Executive Secretary is very proactive and aggressive in taking actions, and like I said, we're on the path there. Okay, like I said before, $32,000 loss, amended budget at 227, so the 363 really what it comes down to. The variance there is $20,000 in debt refunding fees. We didn't know the vehicle we were going to do to refund the debt. Usually if we were to go to issue bonds, it would have came from the proceeds. However, the way we set it up was more advantage to us. We actually paid up front, and they weren't encompassed in the bonds, so it's $20,000 more. 15,000 additional accounting fees. I took on a larger role in redoing the budget and other accruals and working on some payroll items. $10,000 in HSA fees. The error is reimbursable and deductible. We don't know who's going to submit at the end of the year. We had quite a few people submit for reimbursable and deductible for the HSA program. And then $14,000 in additional health care costs and Social Security costs from the severance agreements. Okay.
Debt refunding, did we approve that in 2019?
It happened in 2018, and that's when we funded the bonds in 2018. So our first payments won't be due. However, we had to cover costs like legal fees majority, and we had to pay those upfront as we funded the bonds. So the financial advisor handled the cost. So general fund loss for the year was $120,000, and recreation $122,000. Main drivers of the deficit within the general fund were the legal fees, $33,000 over budget, and that had to do with the golf course decision mostly. Over budget, $72,000 in HR and accounting fees. However, these were offset really by personnel expenditures within the recreation fund. All the accounting and HR fees were mostly split up, majority being the recreation when we had permanent people. However, all those fees from the consultants ended up going into the general fund, and that's why the general fund had a loss. As well as severance agreements as well. We had severance agreements that we initially didn't budget for, and those were included. Over budget $15,000 for professional service costs. In the 2017 budget, there was money spent to bring payroll in-house. Prior to that, we were outsourcing payroll to a company, and we had to buy the software initially, and then the implementation of that software. However, that project ended up not being completed until fiscal year 18. When the budget was passed in year 2017, it was thought that it would be completed in time to complete the 2017 budget. So here's kind of an actual surplus and deficit for some of the programs. So if I'm moving this right, so the actual performance in preschool was a positive $160,000 for the year. Enrichment $18,000.
Positive 160?
Yes, that's how much, you know, if we take the registrations minus the direct cost.
Not very, just for that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I heard,
the net.
I thought it was variance.
Yeah, no, the net surplus. Camp 197, youth athletics 66,000, adult athletics 3,000, dance minus 680, general programs negative 16,000, and art positive 65,000. The fitness center without the debt, 180,000 became a positive 69,000 this year, which is a big turnaround. They've been making large headways there. Racket sports was almost negative 78,000. Pool, positive 16,000. And golf, including debt, was an operating a loss of $422,000 in total. So,
Which has always been pretty consistent, what we try to attribute our losses annually for.
correct.
The RFPs that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the kind of a lot of these expenses this year were one-time expenses. That's why we did so bad for the year, and you won't see that going forward. From the golf operations, there was, like I said before, a $422,000 loss altogether. One-time direct expenses within that was attorney fees for $27,000, bond and financing fees $20,000, communications messaging $35,000. The severance packages that we talked about earlier were $95,000. We had an auditing firm kind of help us with some stuff for $6,500. Financial advisor specific to this project, $20,000. So overall, the decision to get out of golf, do everything, was a little over $200,000.
That was 22, right?
For 2018, correct. So that kind of made up the 360.
Whole different.
Hopefully after this, we won't talk about 2018 much longer. So I want to kind of talk about the reason we decided to license out the golf course. I kind of put a graph over here for the last 6 years, and not including a lot of indirect costs either. Over the last 6 years, there was a $2.2 million loss in golf. And I just want to draw your attention to this revenue chart here, and you can see over the last 6 years, golf participation has fallen, and it really shows within the revenue here. So it's been on a downward trend, not only at this golf course, but golf in general overall. So like I said, we initially thought we were about $290,000 loss, and it ended up being about $360 to $370. So Rod and the staff took an immediate action plan to make up those dollars, as we talked with the board about doing. So we, from the budget, elimination is going to be a $6,000 professional planning. Reduction in the communication advisor, we're no longer going to do that for $11,000. Continuing education is going to go down $2,500. Certain salaries and benefits positions we're not going to fill for $52,500, as well as when we budgeted some of these new positions with benefits, to be conservative, we budgeted at the highest rate if someone was going to take a PPO family. However, that did not, always be the case. We actually saved some money. So we wanted to give you kind of worst case scenario in the budget. We didn't want to have a variance regarding that. So actually it kind of worked out to our advantage. So overall we saved $52,500. And then a reduction in small cap equipment of $8,000. That total $80,000 that we ended up losing more in 18 is now offset now in the 2019 budget.
We're not amending the budget, are we?
No.
Right.
No.
We're not doing these things.
Not officially yet. Yeah.
So we had a 280 positive budget for this year.
Mhm.
You've already identified 80 more savings from that.
Yes.
That's the 360 to offset the 360 we're
That's
losing.
correct. He's going to challenge, these are things we've already said we're not doing, we told staff we're not doing, not going to NRPA, not buying toilets, not, we don't,
Filling positions.
we're getting only the things we need, tightening the belt through the war.
So we'll need to just make sure that we track not to budget, but also track to projected,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Like that's kind of the new projections,
Correct.
right? Okay, thank you.
And I think on the monthly report, we talked about that somehow we want to be able to show
Correct.
that we've been telling you this position, and this is how it's translated into the dollars. So sometimes you'll ask me, is this real savings, is it not? And we don't always know. But, their responsibility is to say each month and show that in the report that we're going to work on. Here's where the savings is.
Yes. So as these monthly reports come through, you'll see large variances for personnel and certain items that come here, and you'll know right off the bat those are the cost savings measures that we implemented early on in the year.
Well,
Those
thank you
would
for
be
doing
straight
that.
line, those would be actually accounted for at the time, that given month.
Correct.
Or personnel drop through, or, okay.
Yeah, I will tell you from, besides the insurance, Noah was having a hard time for a while filling his positions in parks. We're having a hard time in facility maintenance. Jim, someone dropped out of the facility supervisor position. That's gonna be maybe another 2, 3, 4 months. So I'm gonna take this number, feel good about this number, but there may be additional savings too. So,
Well, no, we appreciate it.
no, we're not happy. We're not happy.
No,
about this.
No, this
It
is
was a
not.
bad year.
But are these guys working?
Say the least.
Right.
We are working 120 hours and things like that, but that's how it goes.
Doing more work.
But why can't we get these, the staff, why can't we hire, why don't people wanna work for the park?
Well, it's not a matter of working for the park district, for the facility services manager that I'm looking for the pool, beach, and fitness. We actually had a really good candidate, but he came from another park, that was gonna be coming from another park district, and we were getting ready for a second round of interviews, and I found out maybe just a couple hours before this meeting that he accepted a higher position at the current park district that he's working at. The other candidate, we still have one other candidate, but it's, we'll see what happens with it. But we did interview myself, Rosie, our rec services manager, and Dina Hansen, preschool and early childhood director, helped me with the first round, and I'll tell you that it wasn't a strong pool of candidates.
I'll see the same thing in other places as well.
We have an HR person coming in part-time, it's budgeted. And the one thing that's challenging, we don't have anybody to the east of us, and we're kind of nestled in here, so it's hard to recruit a little bit over in here, so. But, we're able to make do, we're running around, but to answer your question, we're gonna get the job done, and services aren't gonna stop, Yeah, we have to work a little extra harder, but we're not happy with this number. We're all pretty upset about it, so. But, continue that, it's gonna be looked at, all that. And is that gonna hurt all the services? No.
The bad year in 2018 is really going to pay dividends in the coming years, so a lot of hard work was done, a lot of hard decisions were made, and like Bluff, Park District is a bright future because of it.
I think the other thing, which kind of goes into that.
There's some future recommendations that I think we need to work on, is to develop a standard financial report. I know that, it's fine. I know that we're all working with Commissioner Patera on working on a standard financial report that's not only easy for the board to read and understand, but also easier on staff to develop, and to kind of get that a little more quickly and efficiently. And then really, there'll be monthly meetings with all superintendents to get an idea of revenues and expenses of the department. So if your revenues aren't meeting expectations, then you need to reduce expenses to kind of offset that. So it really needs to have monthly accountability and someone overseeing everybody. A lot of the superintendents are out in the field and work operationally, and sometimes, they're not always seeing the whole picture in finances, so they really need a partner and a financial person to kind of help along the way. And then really, I think that we have a comprehensive presentation of the financials like every other month of the board to let us know where we're at and do projections, and if there's anything that's a variance of our budget, then there will be decisions that need to be made at this level, staff coming forward, offering services. So overall, I think that, like I said, 18 was a bad year, but we learned from it. We're going to move on, and we're going to have a very good night moving forward.
I will say the audit, at least Rich can speak to it, there's really no issues out of the audit in general, it's just the number here, so we feel good about the audit perspective, it's just the number that's not going to look good.
So we feel good about our 19 numbers, most importantly. Right now, we're in a good position. We're personnel-wise, I think, we're a little understaffed, but, it can help us out on the bottom line as well. Any other questions or anything? My last slide.
But thank you so much, and good luck in your,
Oh, thanks.
That.
Oh, thanks. You guys all the way in. Do you guys know where Bradley, Illinois is?
No.
Or Kankakee? Sure.
Yeah.
So I worked in the town next to Kankakee, which is only about 35 minutes from me, so I'm from Orland Park. So we're a little closer to home and offers a little bit more flexibility. But I really appreciate everything, and good luck. Yeah, I have a second home here, so I'll still come visit you guys and check out.
So Bob will be here Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is when our bookkeeper will be here, as well as HR will be aligned, and so we'll be really staying in touch with Treasurer Patera on all this, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, Bob has a very impressive background. background, he's been there and done that, so it should be an easy transition over to him.
We'll miss you.
You're not coming back, man.
Oh, yeah, you're not coming back.
I'm coming back. I like you.
Come back to Lakeville.
You know?
So what questions though will Rob's here?
It's not really for Rob or Bob, or for you. What are we doing with the cost of service analysis in terms of applying that to some of the, 2019 challenges as well as 2020?
Yeah, so Commissioner Patera asked the question to me, so we just finished 017s, that's how far behind we are, so we have the numbers back. So Jeff Spillman and I there's a couple tweaks that we have to make, so we would hope that we get back to the Finance Committee with 017. But it's always 1 year behind, but that was kind of what Ed was working on before he left. And then it just got hung out there when he left, so we didn't have anybody to take it on, so Jeff took it on. So I'll have those results probably in the next week or two, see where we're at. But we're still kind of going off of 016, to be honest.
But some of the stuff that I do with my staff, before we even get that report, we sit down as a department on a weekly basis and we do review financials. And we review, participation levels as well as kind of pricing strategies. So, for example, I sat down with the staff and we talked about dance strategy. How can we bring in more numbers with the dance program? And what kind of price strategy should we have for that? And actually, I got some feedback from a committee member, Nikki Walsh, as well as Commissioner McHenry. And we've already come up with like a new fall strategy. So we want to always get ahead of the game. And so we constantly try to take a look at what is our net, what are we compared to budget as well. And if we're falling in an area, what kind of marketing strategy do we need to have? So you can see two of our areas that were down were after school care and dance. And after school care was down because we're down 20 kids in after school care from the elementary school. On average, we've been averaging like 65 kids and we're now averaging 45. So we need to figure out, why are we averaging that 45? Is it the population? What's going on with the school? Are they in extracurricular activities? Dance was easy. That was we were one less dance competition group, which affects about $12,000 just for competition fees. And then each child is required to be in 2 to 4 classes. That's $300 a class. That's another $12,000 in revenue. So we need to either figure how we build up that dance competition group, or how do we bring in more people with dance classes. We figured a lot of it could be our pricing strategy and our approach on what we do for dance this fall. So we're hoping that will at least help that one, but that's going back to the cost of services. Where are we on that level for dance? I'm just giving that as an example.
So we're struggling a little bit. I mean, and this is what we're going to have to sort through, is the cost of services. That number includes some of my salary, Jim's salary, marketing, things like that. And then we have the budget, which is a little bit different because it maybe includes the indirect expenses, but it doesn't include my time and all that. So we're trying to figure out strategically, how do we align the two? Kind of have the cost, and I was going to talk to you about this in racket sports. How do we tell them we're here, and then they look at the budget document and they're like, well, that doesn't match up, because they'll never match up because they're different.
Especially too with government's a modified accrual basis, where if we buy something, we expense it out immediately. Whereas in the real world, if you have an asset that lasts 10 years, you kind of depreciate over 10 years of expenses. So it's not always easy to kind of capture that.
But we know cost of services is probably worse than the budget because it includes.
And when do you think what's your target?
We just received like the last draft of it. We noticed kind of not that it was offline, but what happens with the cost of services is if there's dollars in there for maybe 2 participants, it should be spread out differently. We should delete that program and then it will spread itself. So we noticed some variances where we should delete the program that has 2 people, so then it gets spread out even more. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's
And the other problem is,
So it's a 2-year commitment, I guess, to answer. So we're gonna get 016 and 017. He does have this.
From the company?
From the company. And then they have something which is called Program Lite, where they can just do the programs, and it's a subscription, and what I tell you, $180 for the year, so we have to talk about that if we want to do that or not.
we're not spending on the analysis this year, it's kind of all part of it.
Yeah,
That was the question, but
right,
But I'm just curious to see some.
right.
yeah. Well, we're just
Documents,
we're just
something
we're just behind because it was responsibility of the staff persons, and the person's no longer with us, and we're backed up. That's the honest
Okay.
answer.
Full disclosure. Is that kicked around enough, you know, it needs to be.
Well, it is an important document, we spent money on it, so I think it's been frustrating that we can't get to it.
I just mean where things are, reasonably, it's what it is.
I think one approach that we're using when we look at something like racket sports is, and Ron, you and I talked about this, the first goal is to get it on an operating basis to break even. And in my mind, operating includes indirect costs. You know, the fully loaded cost of the employees involved in that program or service. Get it to cover it. Racket sports, that's 110% coverage. So we've got to get in short order to racket operations covering expenses at 110%. The second goal then is to cover capital and debt service, but kind of looking at two separate goals. And I know that our analysis does not include the capital and the debt service, but those are real expenses. And looking at the 5-year capital plan, we've got to figure out a way for those 110% services to be able to cover the capital going forward.
I think a good way to look at too is, the way we built the budget this year is we do have a lot of the indirect costs now going in there, be it insurance and everything else, is to probably take the depreciation, which is not a part of the financials, but we do have that information, and kind of add that into the operating cost, because all the debt that we've ever taken out is only for capital needs, so maybe we can take the depreciation as something about to look into and add it to the operating, to give you more true cost of what it's costing you.
Well, we're also looking ahead.
Yes,
That's
it's easier
it.
to.
More investment in the future than that.
Yeah,
That's
what you would
important,
need to.
we're still hearing it.
Still sitting out there.
Mhm. So,
Great.
well, thank you.
Thanks so much, Ron. 2019 January year-to-date financials, starting on head, Ron?
We're gonna have Rich just give a quick update. I think it's important for you to hear from the finance people and just me all.
Just wanted to give you a quick update on our January performance. For the month of January, the district did have a $732,000 deficit. And
What was budget?
and the budget was $760, so we were about $28,000 favorable as compared to budget. The shortfall, or the deficit, is made up of, we have a large amount of financing that comes due. Our payments come due in January. So we had a $467,000 worth of debt payments, and then operationally we had $269,000 deficit. As compared to budget operationally, we were $28,000 favorable, which is primarily made up of the not filling the positions that we were talking about earlier today in the month of January, plus of course the benefits and some of the curriculum that goes with that. And that will be an ongoing type savings until we fill those positions on a month-by-month basis. Now, one of the things that Commissioner Patera asked earlier today was, with this $732,000 deficit, how is that going to affect our cash flow, and what does our cash flow look like going forward? Cash flow is going to get extremely tight as we get close to May. We've been watching it very closely. We are projecting that between now and May, our cash flow will drop down to about between $250,000 and $300,000 by the end of May. when our tax payments start coming in, and then June we get $1.5 million in taxes, and we eliminate our cash flow problems. The other thing that happens with the district is that we receive about 50% of our revenue during the summer months with all of our camps and programs and things. So once we reach June, our cash flow problems for 2019 should be behind us.
So are you saying we had a double debt payment? Or how are our debt payments, spread out throughout the year?
Well, it depends on which debt payment it is. When the debt is established, the bond company establishes when we're going to repay it. And we had 2 payments due in January. One was $255, and obviously the other was whatever the difference is, approximately $210.
We have all,
What I'm thinking is those should be timed with when the taxes come in.
yeah, I
If
think,
you're gonna have a double dose or a big payment, right, time it roughly in the same
Yeah,
time
I
frame,
think we have
so
a-
that we don't have these
our
zigzags.
bond payments are split up, the interest is split up into 2 payments, and then principal's included in the first payment, so I think going forward, just to kind of deal with that, not that I'm saying that we'll ever issue any more debt, 'cause we may not have to, but, definitely I think it makes sense that the principal due in the summertime.
And the other positive note between now and May, we have no major debt payments. Our next large debt payments come up in June or July for this year.
Thank you. Right,
So the
it's the
cash
season.
balances, sorry, so you mentioned cash flow. Our actual cash balances are going down to $250,000?
Yes, that is correct.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
correct. Now, there's a couple things that could impact that favorably, and that is because we are because we have deferred income, there are times that when people prepay for some of the camps and things like this, we may get more payments in at the end of April or beginning of May, which could make that 300 or 350. I don't see it going much below the 250 at this point in time.
And that's about a month of operating expenses, so, which.
Yeah, which is about as low as we want to go. Our target is about 250 now.
We'll be watching that though. We're watching that very closely.
On the past, how much should we drop in this capital reserve?
So,
In the capital.
What was it this month? I mean, dropping down to 250.
You mean cash?
Cash, yeah, I mean, in the past.
Where have we normally been at times?
normally
Previous years.
our cash balance hasn't dropped below $1 million over the last year. But part of that too is that all year long, even though we made the expenses, we would get a large cash payment from the golf course at the end of the year.
Membership.
And that large cash payment, which we would not take until December, that assisted us in the January, February, March timeframes when we don't have any taxes coming into assistance.
Yes, I think what's important for the board, I think, to just realize is the $770,000 in 1 month in terms of a loss. It was budgeted, in that area. It's just a big number to look at in January.
Yes, it is.
I'd rather look at 2 numbers.
Right.
Well, the golf that's a good point to bring up, that I didn't think about in looking at the January financials, that's income that we would, and cash receipts that we would normally have coming in at the beginning of the year that we're not gonna have this year. We're gonna catch that up in the summer when we don't have those expenses, but.
Exactly.
That's the downside, yeah.
But this looks a lot different than prior year January, as will February, March, and April.
Right.
Okay.
But it's planned that way.
I was gonna say, right, it's part of the plan.
Right. I just have not seen the monthly plan. I'd like to see the monthly budget, or maybe it's in the, I don't think I've seen it, so I'm more familiar with what to expect.
Okay, we can talk about that. Okay. Perfect.
Okay? Moving on. I need a motion to move to ratify the purchase card payment, $32,713.60 $1,211,965.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
I got one.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera, Commissioner Wallace, President Douglas.
Yes.
New business.
This, purchase cards?
Oh, no.
You just did it.
When did we do first?
Just now.
Oh, we did?
I think we did a motion for the financial.
Yeah, maybe that's where I was thrown off, is
Motion for the
there
financial.
wasn't a motion for the year-to-date financials to just at least.
Oh, from the,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. They
You
were
can go
meaning
back.
from our previous, nothing to prior to purchase cards. So at this time, since I didn't do the motion, should I
Yeah,
go
go ahead.
catch it, so now? So I have it written out for you, yeah. Okay.
Acceptance.
Yes,
I'll just make a motion to accept the financial report as presented.
Sorry.
And a roll call.
roll call, please.
Commissioner Earhart.
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera, Commissioner Wallace, President Douglas.
Yes. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Moving on to ordinance 2019A, the combined budget appropriation approval. I need a motion to move to accept ordinance 2019A and 2019 combined budget appropriation ordinance, disclosing all necessary expenditures and liabilities in all of the district's funds for the calendar year beginning January 1st and ending December 31st, 2019. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera, Commissioner Wallace, President Douglas.
Yes.
Okay, Health and Fitness Center, the equipment bid.
So we took this back to our committee, spent a lot of time talking about it. I think staff has done a great job, really looking at, what was necessary. We feel good about recommending approval for really the next three items for you guys. The equipment, the financing of that equipment, and the sale of the old
And the
stuff.
financing, yeah.
So, happy to answer any questions, but I know that everyone has already looked at this and talked about this in some detail, so our committee approved it.
That would be the integrity, attachment B, bids 1, 2, and bid 3, which gives us the third piece of equipment, right? And then bid 5, right? And with the trade-in, so we're looking at 29,645 as a budget, Mike, I just wanna make sure.
So at the bottom of page 69, has what you just said, spelled out in the motion. Do you want me to go ahead and make a motion?
Sure, I just wanna make sure that, yeah, I have that, so.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3,
Please.
5, the dollar amounts in there. So, I'll make a motion to accept base bids 1, 2, 3, and 5, increasing the quantity to 3 and base bid 3, rejecting base bids 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 from Integrity Fitness, and accept the trade-in except for the Precor AMT and hoist bench from Integrity Fitness, with a total amount, including the trade-in, of $29,645.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Earhart.
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes,
Commissioner Wallace, President Douglas.
Yes.
so thank you for really looking
No,
at that.
I was gonna thank
Really
you.
appreciate it, just you guys took the extra time, and I think
Yep.
it'll benefit, the members.
Yeah, and I think going forward, handling that at the committee level is the right way to do it. I know
We were
kind of
rushing.
time sensitive and you're trying to rush it through, but,
Yeah, we don't need it.
yeah.
We weren't trying to circumvent it, it's just, we were hoping to get it in earlier, but, we do have a new procedure so that anytime, whether it's equipment throughout the district or fitness, something public oriented, more staff need to be involved and I'll be involved, so that was something that came out of all this, so, bigger circle of conversation.
Yeah, I think that end result is good. I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the board to enter into a 48-month bank loan with Lake Forest Bank and Trust for a principal amount not to exceed $33,145 at 5.75% interest to finance the purchase of health and fitness equipment identified in the fitness equipment bid and sound accessories. That was one word too long.
Have a second here? Roll call.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera, Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes.
The third motion to approve ordinance 2019-B, declaration of surplus personal property and authorization for sale, trade-in, or disposal.
So these were the items in the trade-in, we trying to find all the model numbers and all that, so we'll get it in there for legal purposes, so we're good to go.
Right. Roll call.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace, President Douglas.
Yes. Community comments?
No.
Comments, questions, Ron, anything relative to, I see we have the one. Okay.
Some received some nice correspondence from the village
Oh,
on
yeah.
beach parking, so a couple nice emails, complimentary of the board. That's it.
Okay. We need to come out of regular board meeting and then go into executive session.
No, we just go into executive session,
Okay.
so it should be quick.
Need someone, if we could, to, do the executive session. Okay.
I move that we go to executive session for the purpose of lease of real property, lease of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired pursuant to section 2C5 of the Open Meetings Act.
I'll second. Roll call.
Commissioner Earhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now we need a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting